In this video, I'm going to talk about nightmares. Why we have them, what they mean, why our brains can come up with these twisted movies almost in a sense that have us waking up feeling really, really scared or really disgusted or showing parts of ourselves that we didn't even know that our brains could project because they're so disturbing to us. So, what are nightmares? Why do they happen? And how can we analyze them? Welcome back to another video. I'm Jen Palko. Today we're going to talk about those twisted nightmares we have that cause us to wake up and feel completely disturbed and like coming out of our brains. Why do we have nightmares? What do they mean? Is it like something from our subconscious that is telling us that we're actually an evil person deep down and we're having this bloody, gross dream of us killing somebody or us, I don't know, like fighting with this gross monster type thing and decapitating people in our path? Like, what are nightmares? Why do we have them? What's the meaning behind it all? So, as a kid, I definitely had nightmares, and I always thought it would be very interesting, and I actually wanted to create a book or write a book of all my dreams and like the really twisted, weird, nightmare-y kind of dreams with monsters or like decapitated heads and like really disgusting things. Because I thought it was so fascinating. To me, at least, I thought, what makes our brain come up with this stuff, almost like a movie. Like, I wish there was a way to transfer, everything from a nightmare onto a movie screen where we could see exactly how it went down, because oftentimes we wake up and we remember bits and pieces, unless it was very, very vivid and very disturbing for us, that we don't quite remember the whole thing or the whole gist of it. So why do we have nightmares as opposed to just our regular dream state? I'm going to give you 5 things about nightmares that maybe you didn't know, and then I'm going to give you some tips, 5 in particular, some ways to analyze a nightmare for yourself. Number 1, you are the source of your nightmares. You probably knew that already because it's coming from your brain, right? But you are the source of your nightmares. So if you have reoccurring nightmares, or you wake up and you're very startled and you're very scared and you're like, oh my God, like where did that come from? You just think it's like a jumbled mess in your head of things that happened in your day or your week, or you just feel like it just comes out of nowhere, right? Because it's very, very disturbing. It could be like you're chopping somebody's arm off, or you're like I had a dream one time where I woke up. I love this one. It's so interesting. I mean, it's gross, but it's interesting. It's disturbing, but it's cool. I woke up, and this one I remember so clearly. Like, I woke up in the morning. This was a long, long time ago. And I remember walking down into the kitchen. This is when I still lived with my parents. Walking down into the kitchen, and there was like this blue light coming from the kitchen. And I remember walking into the kitchen, and all my family's heads were sitting on the counter, decapitated, staring at me. And this like sticks in my brain. I was like, why did I have that dream? Like, what do I want to like decapitate my family? Like, what's going on? Why? So disturbing, so very, very odd dreams. So you have to realize, number 1, all nightmares come from you. You are the source of your nightmares. Sorry to say, for some of you who have very, very disturbing, bloody, gross nightmares. Number 2, nightmares actually will reveal some sort of message for you. So all dreams, all nightmares have some sort of message to them, even the most disturbing ones. And a lot of times it's actually a positive message. We may not think it's a positive message because we feel like we're disgusting and gross and evil and just satanic in some way, but there is always some sort of message, oftentimes a positive message, to pull out of them. Okay, so that's number 2. Number 3, nightmares are only nightmares because they reveal some sort of darker side of ourselves, skeletons in our closet. So what differentiates a dream from a nightmare? Well, a nightmare is something that is unresolved in ourselves, okay? It could be like a skeleton in our closet, like I mentioned, or it could be some sort of hidden emotion that we have deep down, something darker within ourselves that we're not willing to face, that we're scared to face. So it's fear of the unknown, and anything unknown is scary to us. It is scary to us, right? So these dreams that come off as nightmares are things that come up in our subconscious mind that we haven't dealt with, that are we're just not used to dealing with it. And it oftentimes is a very, very scary thing. It's like in our waking state, things that come into our reality or into our lives that scare us to death feel very uncomfortable, disturbing to us. So it's the same with a nightmare. It feels very uncomfortable and very disturbing to us because it is the unknown. It is this darker, deeper side of ourselves that we haven't quite faced. So something going on in ourselves. So you might think dreams and nightmares are just like a jumbled mess of thoughts or things that have happened during the day, and it just all kind of jumbles in our brain at night, right? Well, usually the hidden meaning behind a dream or a nightmare is some sort of emotion or something we're experiencing in our life, okay? So some sort of fear or anxiety, or there's always an underlying emotion to a dream, okay? So it's not just a jumbled mess of things. It's usually relates to something either going on currently in our lives or something we've experienced recent, whether it's something we faced, like a traumatic experience or some sort of shame or embarrassment with somebody. And it shows up in the form of a dream, or in many cases, a nightmare, if it's something that goes unresolved. Also, people who tend to be more on the sensitive side often experience more nightmares. So for all you sensitive people out there, sorry to say, you may experience more nightmares because you are sensitive to all these different emotions in your life. And, when you sleep, all this stuff bubbles up inside of you and you experience emotions at a heightened state, okay? So you may experience them more intensely than other people who aren't so sensitive. So not only sensitive people experience nightmares more frequently, but people who have PTSD, obviously, so past trauma, and this, again, relates to the underlying emotions. Okay, so they're reliving the same experience in their dreams because that is in their subconscious mind, and it's bringing out all these unresolved emotions for a lot of people. So if people do not deal with their PTSD, then that is where nightmares come in, where they're reliving the same experience through their dreams. So number 5, while this is rare, sometimes nightmares can actually reveal an impending danger for yourself. Not, like I said, not as common because usually stealing dreams and nightmares are dealing more with our underlying emotions and tied to a specific message or something, that comes out of it. But sometimes it's kind of like this intuition within ourselves. And you have a dream about something, and you may not even put the pieces together, but there may be symbols involved, okay? And then something happens the next day or over the course of the next week that is completely tied to what you were dreaming, okay? To the symbols in your dream and the message that it was providing you, whether you paid attention to it or not. So you essentially have 2 worlds within you, okay? You have your outer world, your outer self, and you have your inner world and your inner self. So the outer world is who you identify with to other people, to the world around you, and then you have your inner self, the inner world, which is your internal dialogue with yourself, your innermost thoughts and feelings, hopes, dreams, things like that. So your psyche is kind of the mediator between your outer and your inner self, okay? And at night when you dream, what happens is this psyche has access to everything that you've experienced recently, okay? And what it does, it takes everything you've experienced recently in your physical reality and it ties it with stuff going on inside you, your thoughts, your feelings. And that is how dreams or nightmares come about. Bad dreams and nightmares will come on less frequently the more you deal with facing those emotions coming up. So anything unresolved, the hidden skeletons in your closet, if you deal with them, you'll notice that you get less nightmares in your life. So what are some ways to analyze your dreams or analyze your nightmares? Well, the first thing is to pay attention to how you felt during the dream or the nightmare and also as soon as you woke up, okay? And write that down if you can. So a lot of times our nightmares are parts of ourselves that we are afraid to reveal. So we have these emotions inside of us, right, that are kind of like festering inside of us and they're unresolved. So in a sense, in our dream state, we can let these emotions out of us full force without any repercussions against us. Okay, and that's what often happens. You know, we may shoot somebody in a dream, or we might, yell at our boss and scream at our boss, or something that we would never do in real life. And what that is, it's these underlying emotions, again, coming out of us, parts of ourselves that we wouldn't actually that we're afraid to actually show in real life. We wouldn't actually kill somebody, but in our dream, it's this enhanced, intensified effect because again, it's in symbols, it's in these messages for us, okay? So, you know, you have to really pay attention to how you felt, the emotional state you're in during, if you can, and as soon as you woke up, how did you feel, you know, when you had that nightmare, when you woke up? Were you scared to death? Were you sweating? Were you anxious, or were you depressed, or were you, this stage of shock on you? Okay, so pay attention to that. So after you do that, the second thing to do to analyze your nightmare is to sum it up in one sentence, if you could. So if you could take your nightmare as a movie, okay, and somebody asks you, well, what is this movie about? If you can sum up in one sentence to the best of your ability what the storyline is, then that's going to help you out. Okay, so the third thing is to then, once you have this sentence or this summary of what your nightmare's about or your story's about, then what you want to do is match up that one sentence or that summary to your current life. What's going on in your current life? Has there been any kind of big change in your life, you know, whether at home or at work, or any kind of fear or anxiety that is underneath it all that you've been experiencing, or some kind of fear of failure that you've been going through? So tie in that sentence or that summary to what's going on in your current life. What the past couple of weeks have you been going through? Have you been going through anything big, any kind of, you know, thing to shift your brain a little bit, or where you have more of these emotions coming out of you? All right, so the next thing is to look for symbols. Look for symbols in your dream. So symbols are more of a supportive asset to the storyline. So the basic storyline, that one sentence summary of what your dream or nightmare was about is the most important thing. And after that, then start looking for any kind of symbols. So when you've done all that, the last thing is to try to find the message. Try to find the message. Like I mentioned, all dreams, all nightmares have some sort of message, oftentimes a positive message for you. So it's almost like a fable, is that right? The fable usually has like a message to it. See if you can find the message underneath the storyline, the symbols, everything. What is it telling you? And the last and most important thing that I want to mention about nightmares, as scary as they may be, nightmares often inspire us to become better versions of ourselves, higher versions of ourselves. If we can instead of waking up and feel like disgusted and mortified at what our brains just kind of projected into this, I don't know, dream state we were in, try to find the light of it, okay? Try to find the deeper meaning behind it, whether it's something that you're not facing in your life and you need to face in order to grow or get to that next step. So there's always a message, like I mentioned, and dreams, nightmares can actually lead us into better versions of ourselves, okay? A higher version of ourselves. Because if we can pay attention to them and try to pick out the pieces of what it means for us, this is our brain helping us out. This is our subconscious actually helping us. We may not think it's helping us, but it's helping us actually because it's giving us a message, okay? A lot of times we don't pay attention to it, but it's sending us a message of what's going on in this inner world of ours so that we can be able to function better in this outer world of ours. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know, leave in the comments section anything. I'd love to even hear if you have some like really twisted nightmares you've had or what you think they might mean. I love hearing about that, all that stuff. It's great. So subscribe below if you have not. I put out a video every single morning. And other than that, I hope you guys have an awesome day. Okay? Peace.